My dear friends, too many people are living beneath their God-given potential, not because they lack talent, not because they lack opportunity, but because they have accepted the lie that average is acceptable. But I tell you, average is not your destiny. You were not created to merely exist, to simply pass time, or to just get by. You were created with a divine imprint, with a purpose stamped on your soul before you were even born. The danger of average is that it feels safe. It lulls you to sleep. It tells you, you're doing okay, when deep down your spirit is crying out for more. You are made for more, not for more fame, not for more applause, but for more impact. And that impact comes not from staying in your comfort zone, but by walking in faith, in truth, and in bold obedience to the voice of God. Average is the enemy of excellence. Comfort zones are the graveyards of purpose. The truth is, mediocrity is not just a lesser version of greatness. It's a direct opposition to it. In a world where so many are content with just enough, we must ask ourselves a deeper question. What has God truly called us to be? You were never meant to float along the current of life, swept by trends and tossed by circumstance. You were meant to rise above, to walk intentionally, to push past the barriers of fear, laziness, and apathy. But average whispers lies. It tells you you've done your part when your assignment isn't over. It comforts you with shallow applause when heaven is silent, waiting for you to rise to the level of your calling. Average kills dreams not with swords, but with delay. It poisons vision not with hate, but with distraction. Many people think they've chosen safety, but what they've really chosen is spiritual stagnation. And over time, they don't just stay where they are. They slip backwards without even knowing it. Comfort zones are dangerous because they are silent. They don't shout like failure. They don't sting like rejection. They numb. They convince the soul that survival is success. That as long as bills are paid, as long as you're liked, as long as you fit in, then you're doing well. But purpose doesn't dwell in the shallow. It thrives in deep water. It lives in the place where you are stretched, where you must rely on God, where you are challenged to grow. Excellence isn't found by those who do the bare minimum. It is found by those who pursue their calling with diligence, consistency, and faith. Excellence doesn't just require skill. It demands sacrifice. It means giving your best even when no one's watching. It means pushing forward, even when your emotions say quit. It means honoring God not just with your talents, but with your time, your effort, and your obedience. The graveyards of the earth are filled with untapped potential. Books never written, songs never sung, inventions never created, sermons never preached, souls never reached. Not because people were incapable, but because they accepted average. They traded the extraordinary for the easy. They allowed the pressures of the crowd to silence the whisper of destiny. But you don't have to. You don't have to live a life of almost. You don't have to settle for a story that ends in regret. You can break free. You can rise up. The moment you refuse to settle is the moment everything starts to change. That moment begins when you realize that staying average will cost you more than trying. and failing ever will, because failure still teaches, effort still builds, but average steals silently. It steals your fire, your vision, your passion, and it leaves you wondering years later, what might have been? So choose today not to be ordinary, not to fit in, not to coast through life with the bare minimum. Choose to press toward the mark, to hunger for excellence, to give God your very best. Because when you do, your life will become a testimony, not of ease, but of effort, not of perfection, but of purpose. And when you stand before God, He won't say, well tried or well intended. He'll say, well done. And that, my friend, is worth more than all the comfort in the world. God designed you for greatness, not mediocrity. You were not crafted in the image of the Almighty to simply drift through life, collecting titles or accumulating things. You were formed with divine hands, called for a purpose that echoes through eternity. Every breath you take is a reminder that heaven has invested something powerful within you. But so many today walk around unaware of the treasure they carry, not because it isn't there, but because they've settled for far less than they were created for. Mediocrity is not humility, it's rebellion against the design of your Creator. When you choose to live below your potential, when you choose to stay in what is easy and predictable, you dishonor the one who gave you gifts meant to change the world around you. God doesn't call you to be impressive in the eyes of men. He calls you to be faithful to what He has entrusted to you. And faithfulness means not burying your talent in the ground out of fear or laziness, but using it boldly, consistently, and righteously. You were designed to reflect the greatness of God, not by being perfect, but by being purposeful, by waking up each day and saying, Lord, I will not waste what you've placed in me. The world may celebrate average. It may reward popularity, convenience, and comfort. But heaven celebrates obedience, discipline, and courage. Your purpose is not passive, it is active. It won't unfold without resistance. It won't thrive without decision. But when you walk in alignment with your calling, with faith as your guide, you will become a vessel of glory, one that shines brighter not for your sake, but for the one who sent you. Fear disguises itself as wisdom, but leads to stagnation. How many dreams have died because someone said, be realistic? How many visions were buried under the weight of doubt, sounded practical, but was birthed in fear? Fear rarely comes shouting. It often wears a mask of logic. It tells you to slow down, to wait for a sign, to gather more information, to play it safe. But there's a difference between discernment and paralysis. The kind of fear that stops you from moving forward isn't wisdom. It's bondage. It tells you to protect yourself when God is calling you to trust Him. It makes you calculate risks endlessly instead of walking by faith. And while you wait, others rise. While you hesitate, the time passes. While you stall, the opportunity fades. Faith is not blind. It sees beyond what the eye can catch. Faith doesn't ignore facts. It overrides them with truth. And the truth is, if God has called you, He has equipped you. But the enemy of your soul will whisper doubts dressed as reason. He will tell you that trying is dangerous, that change is risky, that growth is too hard. And if you believe him, you'll stay stuck, spiritually numb, emotionally restless, mentally caged. Stagnation is the slow death of destiny. It doesn't always look like failure. It often looks like nothing at all. No motion, no momentum, no passion. Just existing. But you were never called to just exist. You were called to move, to multiply, to bear fruit, to walk with boldness. And boldness doesn't come when fear is gone. It comes when faith is greater. So let the wisdom of God silence the fear that wears a disguise. Step forward, not because you feel ready, but because you were called. And when you step, heaven will meet you there. Discipline and sacrifice separate the faithful from the forgettable. In a world where convenience is glorified and shortcuts are praised, few understand the value of paying the price day after day. Success doesn't happen in a single moment of inspiration. It's built in the trenches of quiet effort, in the hidden hours when no one is watching. The people who make a lasting impact in life are not necessarily the most talented, but they are almost always the most consistent. They do what needs to be done, even when they don't feel like it. They honor their commitments, even when it's hard. They sacrifice immediate pleasure for long-term purpose. And that's what discipline truly is, saying no to what is easy, so you can say yes to what is eternal. It's waking up early to pray, to study, to build, to train. Not because you have to, but because you refuse to waste your calling. It's staying focused when others are distracted. It's being faithful with little, knowing that God is watching what you do in the unseen before he trusts you with the spotlight. Sacrifice means giving up the good for the sake of the great. It means enduring discomfort now to step into destiny later. You cannot live a powerful life and a comfortable life at the same time. One must be chosen. And if you want to be counted among the faithful, if you want your life to echo beyond your years, you must choose the path of discipline, of sacrifice, of unwavering devotion to the purpose God has placed on your life. Heaven does not applaud average effort toward a divine calling. There's nothing casual about a commission from God. He didn't breathe life into you, fill you with his Spirit, and surround you with opportunity so that you could live half-hearted. He's not impressed by good intentions. He looks for those who act with diligence, those who labor in obedience, those who walk by faith and not by sight. So many people hope that someday, somehow they'll arrive at greatness. But purpose doesn't manifest by accident. It's cultivated through effort. God multiplies what you give him. But if you bring him leftovers, you'll miss the fullness of what he wants to do through you. The parable of the talents wasn't about the one who buried his gift losing his talent because he lacked skill. It was because he lacked effort, vision, and reverence. God doesn't take kindly to passivity in the face of purpose. If your calling is divine, then your response must be intentional. Too many people approach their purpose like a hobby, offering scraps of time and convenience. But you can't treat something sacred like it's optional and expect holy results. What you sow is what you reap. If you sow casually, you'll reap regret. But if you sow faithfully, passionately, daily, heaven will take notice and God will reward you in ways that this world cannot. You are not born to blend in. You are called to stand out. From the very beginning, your existence was marked by purpose. There's no one on this earth with your fingerprint, your voice, your combination of gifts, experiences, and spiritual DNA. You are not a mistake. You are not one in a crowd. You are a light meant to shine in darkness, a city set on a hill. But too often, people are afraid to stand out because they fear rejection, criticism, or failure. So they shrink, they conform, they settle for being tolerated instead of stepping into being transformational. But blending in might make you comfortable. It will never make you impactful. God did not call you to follow the crowd. He called you to follow Christ. And that path will often require you to walk alone, to speak when others are silent, to stay grounded when others are swayed. Standing out isn't about being loud or flashy. It's about being faithful. It's about refusing to compromise truth, refusing to lower your standard, refusing to dim your light. You were born to reflect His glory, not man's approval. And when you embrace that, when you stop trying to fit into a mold the world made for you, you will finally be free to become who you were created to be. The world doesn't need more copies. It needs more originals, boldly walking in the fullness of God's plan. So rise, stand firm, be different, and let the power of your obedience point others to the one who made you for more. Heaven does not applaud average effort toward a divine calling. God does not measure our lives by the comfort we attain, the applause we receive, or the titles we carry. He looks at faithfulness, diligence, and obedience. When God places a calling on someone's life, it is never casual. It is intentional, eternal, and holy. It is a trust, not a suggestion. Yet so many walk lightly over what should be sacred. They give God their spare time, their leftover energy, their divided attention, and then wonder why the fruit isn't there. But heaven doesn't move in response to half-hearted devotion. Heaven is moved by sacrifice, by surrendered hearts, by people who are willing to go the second mile, even when it's hard, even when no one claps for them, even when it costs everything. God is not calling you to do what's convenient. He's calling you to do what's eternal. Average may be enough to please people, but it is never enough to fulfill purpose. When you live with a divine assignment, you must treat every moment, every task, every opportunity as sacred. You must carry your calling with the weight it deserves, because how you carry it will determine how far it takes you. You cannot approach your purpose casually and expect divine reward. God rewards those who seek Him diligently, not occasionally, not emotionally, but diligently. That means showing up when you don't feel like it, staying focused when no one is watching, and giving your best not to impress others, but to honor the one who called you. What we do with what God has entrusted us with determines how much more He entrusts us with. You may not have everything you desire yet, but you've already been given something. And how you steward it matters. There are no insignificant assignments in the kingdom of God. Whether it's a small platform or a great stage, a quiet season or a public one, God watches closely how you treat what's in your hands now. Many people want elevation without preparation. They want multiplication without stewardship. But the principles of the kingdom are clear. If you are faithful with little, you will be trusted with more. If you neglect the little, you delay the much. God tests hearts through the ordinary. Will you show up with excellence even when it seems small? Will you lead with integrity even when no one notices? The truth is, greatness is never found in the spotlight. It's forged in the shadows. And if you are not willing to serve when it's hidden, you are not ready to lead when it's seen. God gives more not to those who are talented, but to those who are trustworthy. So don't despise the small beginnings. Don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Focus on doing what God placed before you today, and He will open doors you never even knew existed tomorrow. The size of your assignment may change over time, but the weight of your responsibility never will. You were not born to blend in. You were called to stand out. From the very beginning, God designed you with uniqueness, with gifts and qualities no one else carries. Your difference is not your weakness. It's your assignment. But the world trains us to fit in, to stay in line, to silence our voice and suppress our fire. Standing out is risky. It invites criticism, isolation, and discomfort. Yet it is the very posture that births transformation. The ones who change history didn't blend into the crowd. They rose above it. They refused to conform to the patterns around them because they were conformed to a higher standard within them. You don't carry the Spirit of God to play it safe. You carry it to bring change, to bring light, to bring truth. And yes, that means you may walk alone at times. You may be misunderstood, labeled, or rejected. But don't let that stop you. God never called you to popularity. He called you to purpose. And standing out isn't about arrogance. It's about alignment. It's choosing to live set apart, holy, and bold in a world that is lost, loud, and confused. When you stand out with character, humility, and truth, you don't just shine, you guide. Your life becomes a beacon, pointing others to the greater light that lives within you. So refuse to dim your light. Refuse to hide your calling. Refuse to lower your standard to make others comfortable. The world needs more people who are willing to live boldly, love fiercely, and lead courageously, not for applause, but for impact. The world is changed by those who dare to rise above the average, fueled by faith and vision. Every great movement, every spiritual awakening, every transformation in history began with someone who refused to stay silent, someone who saw more than what was and believed in what could be. They were fueled not just by ambition, but by vision. God-given, Spirit-led, and heaven-anointed vision. Vision is the language of faith. It allows you to see what others cannot yet see, to endure what others cannot endure, and to build what others have only imagined. But vision alone is not enough. It must be fueled by faith, the unshakable trust in the promises of God. It's one thing to dream. It's another to walk by faith when the path is dark and uncertain. The average person waits for guarantees. The visionary walks when there's only a word. The average soul looks for comfort. The faithful seek calling. God doesn't need more dreamers. He needs more doers who are willing to believe even when there's no evidence yet. Vision will stretch you. Faith will test you. But together, they will transform you. You may feel unqualified, inadequate, or unseen. But when you rise above the average, when you hold on to faith and keep your eyes on the vision God has given you, you become unstoppable. Not because you are powerful, but because God is faithful. And through you, the world can and will change. You are not born to blend in. You are called to stand out. This calling isn't just a suggestion. It is a divine imperative etched into the very core of your creation. The world may celebrate sameness, pushing you to conform, to think like the masses, to walk the common path. But the Spirit of God within you calls you higher, to be a light in the darkness, a voice crying out in a wilderness of compromise. You are not here by accident. You are not meant to copy others or shrink to fit in. You were designed to reflect a unique portion of God's character and to carry a message that no one else on earth was meant to deliver. But standing out comes with a price. It means risking misunderstanding. It means being willing to be different, to be bold in a world that often punishes boldness. Many choose silence to avoid conflict. Many bow to comfort rather than rising in conviction. But God does not anoint those who seek the approval of the crowd. He anoints those who seek Him, who are willing to walk the narrow road, even when it's lonely. The ones who make a lasting difference are not those who aim to fit in. They are those who choose to be faithful. You stand out when you walk in integrity, when you speak truth in love, when you live holy in an unholy age. You shine not because of charisma, but because of character. And when your life becomes a vessel for God's glory, you become a living testimony, not of popularity, but of power, not of blending in, but of boldly becoming all God created you to be. The world is changed by those who dare to rise above the average, fueled by faith and vision. It is not the loudest voice or the most gifted person who shapes history, but the one who refuses to settle, the one who sees more than what is and believes in what could be. Vision is the spark, but faith is the fuel. Without faith, vision is just imagination. But when God births a vision within you, it is a call to action, a call to rise when others sit, to press forward when others pause, to believe when everything around you says quit. Most people don't rise higher because they limit themselves to what they can see and explain. But faith walks into the unknown because it trusts the one who knows the end from the beginning. The average person waits for proof, but the person of faith moves at the sound of God's voice. The average soul follows the crowd, but the faithful walk with eyes fixed on the promise. When you are fueled by a vision that came from God and the faith to pursue it, you become dangerous to the status quo. You challenge mediocrity. You break cycles. You build what others said couldn't be built. And even when you fall, you rise again because your strength isn't in your talent. It's in your trust. If you want to change the world, you must first let God change you. You must let faith become your foundation and vision become your compass. Then your life will not be a story of what could have been, but a testimony of what God can do through someone who refuses to live average. Average is the enemy of excellence. Comfort zones are the graveyards of purpose. If the enemy cannot destroy your calling, he will try to dull it with comfort. He'll make you believe that doing just enough is noble, that staying safe is wise. But purpose was never meant to be pursued passively. You will never fulfill your destiny while clinging to comfort. The place God is calling you to will require faith, endurance, and bold steps forward. Excellence is not achieved by doing what's easy. It's achieved by doing what's right over and over with full heart and full commitment. But average whispers, that's too much. It doesn't take all that. Just blend in. And if you listen, you begin to drift. Drift from passion. Drift from purpose. Drift from the fire that once burned bright within you. Comfort makes you believe that staying still is safe, but in truth, it's dangerous. You weren't made to stay in the boat. You were made to walk on water. You weren't created to echo the world. You were designed to shape it. So break out of the cycle of average. Choose growth over ease. Choose purpose over popularity. Choose obedience over opinion. And as you do, you will find yourself rising, not because you are chasing greatness, but because you are chasing God. And in Him, excellence becomes not just a goal, but a lifestyle. God designed you for greatness, not mediocrity. You are the workmanship of a master craftsman. You bear the fingerprint of the divine. You are not designed to live at the level of survival, scraping by in faith, effort, or vision. You were created to thrive, to walk in authority, to bear fruit, to shake nations with the light within you. Mediocrity is not humility. It is a distortion of identity. It is what happens when fear overrides faith, when pressure outweighs promise, and when voices of doubt drown out the voice of God. When you settle for mediocrity, you insult the greatness that was placed in you by the Creator. But when you step into your identity, when you say, God, I'll go where you send me, do what you ask, and give you my best, you awaken something powerful within. This isn't about chasing titles or accolades. It's about being who God made you to be, without apology and without hesitation. Greatness doesn't always look like fame. It looks like faithfulness. It looks like quiet obedience. It looks like showing up again and again when it would be easier to quit. And make no mistake, when you align with your design, doors open, chains break, and heaven moves. So reject the lie that you are ordinary. Reject the mindset of just enough. You were created for abundance, excellence, and divine impact. Let that truth shape how you live, how you work, how you serve, and watch what God will do through a surrendered life. Fear disguises itself as wisdom, but leads to stagnation. One of the greatest barriers to fulfilling purpose is not opposition. It is hesitation. Fear doesn't always come roaring. Sometimes it whispers with logic, cloaks itself in caution, and convinces you that standing still is the wise thing to do. It'll tell you to wait for a better time, a clearer sign, or more assurance. But when God speaks, He rarely gives full explanations. He calls for obedience. Stagnation is rarely a result of lack of calling. It's often the result of too much calculating. You don't walk by faith with spreadsheets and timetables. You walk by listening to the voice of the shepherd, even when the terrain ahead looks uncertain. Many people call their fear discernment. But if your discernment always keeps you from moving forward, it might not be discernment at all. It might be fear in disguise. And the truth is, delay is often more dangerous than failure. You can recover from falling, but if you never move, you risk missing the moment entirely. God is looking for people who will move when He says move, who will trust when it doesn't make sense, who will step out even when the wind is strong. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the refusal to let fear make the decision. And when you silence fear with faith, the impossible becomes possible, not because you're fearless, but because you're obedient. So don't let fear wear the mask of wisdom. Let faith lead the way. You were not born to blend in. You were called to stand out. There's a reason why your fingerprint is unlike any other. There's a reason why your journey is different from everyone else's. You were never meant to walk a path of imitation. You were crafted to reflect God's unique purpose through your life. But the world constantly tries to mold you into sameness, pressuring you to fit into systems and structures that suffocate your divine identity. Standing out is costly. It often means being misunderstood, criticized, or even rejected. But that's the narrow road Jesus spoke of. A road not walked by the many, but the few who are willing to live with the eternal focus. The world applauds those who follow trends, but heaven honors those who follow truth. You weren't filled with God's Spirit to simply survive. You were empowered to shift atmospheres, to bring light into darkness, to be a vessel of change. It's not about being louder or more visible. It's about being more obedient, set apart, holy, courageous. When others compromise, you stay rooted. When others doubt, you believe. When others give up, you press on. The call to stand out is not a call to pride. It's a call to purity. It's a call to live differently, to love boldly, and to walk in the authority of heaven, even when the crowd walks away. Never be ashamed of who God made you to be. You are a living answer to a problem in this world. Your uniqueness is not your weakness. It's your weapon. And when surrendered to God, it becomes a light that cannot be hidden. The world is changed by those who dare to rise above the average, fueled by faith and vision. Look through the pages of history, and you'll find that nothing extraordinary ever came from the comfortable. The world has never been shifted by those who did what was expected. Change comes from those who choose to believe beyond what is visible, who dare to envision a future others say is impossible. Vision gives you eyes to see beyond the natural, but faith gives you the courage to act on what you see. And when those two come together, something powerful happens: movement. Most people don't lack ability. They lack belief. They see the mountain and assume it can't be moved. But those with vision see the mountain and speak to it. They walk toward it. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They trust a perfect God. Faith isn't wishful thinking. It's radical trust. It's believing that if God gave you the vision, He will also give you the strength, the strategy, and the stamina to carry it through. Average plays it safe. It says, wait your turn. don't stand out. Don't dream too big. But those fueled by faith and vision don't wait for approval. They move in alignment with heaven's call. They take bold steps when others hesitate. And because of that, they create ripple effects that touch generations. Your life, when led by faith and vision, becomes more than just a story. It becomes a legacy. Average is the enemy of excellence. Comfort zones are the graveyards of purpose. The greatest threat to your destiny is not failure. It's settling. Comfort is seductive. It tells you that you've done enough, that you don't need to stretch, that coasting is okay. But the truth is, every calling will eventually demand more than comfort can offer. You cannot carry the weight of purpose while sitting in the chair of convenience. Comfort is where dreams go to die quietly. It doesn't scream, it whispers softly enough that you don't even notice the drift until the fire is gone. But God never called you to a life of average. He called you to excellence. And excellence isn't perfection. It's a posture. It's choosing to give God your best even when no one else sees it. It's choosing to grow when you could stay still. It's choosing to obey even when it's uncomfortable. The comfort zone might feel safe, but it's dangerous because it keeps you from discovering how much God can do through a fully surrendered life. If you want to find purpose, you must be willing to embrace discomfort, challenge, and risk. You must be willing to break routine, to silence excuses, and to pursue growth at all costs. Excellence begins when you say, I will no longer settle. It begins when you hunger for more than just what's easy, and when you trust God enough to step beyond what's familiar. God designed you for greatness, not mediocrity. Every fiber of your being was intentionally crafted by the Creator of the universe. Not to simply survive, but to overcome, to lead, to shine. Yet too often, people adopt a mindset of just enough faith, just enough passion, just enough effort to stay afloat. But mediocrity is not your identity. It's an illusion that tries to convince you to bury what God has placed within you. You are not saved and filled with the Spirit just to play it safe. You are empowered to expand, to influence, to operate in authority. Greatness is not about fame or status. It's about fullness, walking fully in what God has placed on your life. Doing the work He's called you to with diligence, with consistency, and with fire. You are made to multiply, to be fruitful, to move in power, not because of who you are, but because of who He is in you. Don't let the fear of failing rob you from the joy of becoming. Don't let the pressure of people cause you to dim the light that God ignited in your spirit. The world might settle for good, but God calls you to be excellent. He didn't breathe life into you so you could live beneath your potential. He calls you to rise, to stretch, to fight for the calling you've been entrusted with. Fear disguises itself as wisdom, but leads to stagnation. One of the cleverest tactics of the enemy is to dress fear in the clothing of caution. It sounds wise. It feels safe, but it keeps you stuck. There is a fear that speaks softly. Wait a little longer. You're not ready yet. Let someone else go first. And if you listen long enough, years can pass before you take the step you were supposed to take yesterday. That's how purpose gets paralyzed. Stagnation isn't always visible on the surface, but underneath, dreams grow cold, visions fade, and passions weaken. Faith requires movement, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's uncertain. God doesn't reveal the full map. He gives you the next step, and that next step will often require you to silence the voice of fear disguised as logic. Real wisdom trusts the voice of God more than the voices of doubt. It steps when God says step, even when the ground ahead looks shaky. The waters didn't part until the soles of the priests touched the river. Sometimes your breakthrough is waiting on your first step of obedience. Don't call stagnation safety. Don't mistake hesitation for discernment. If God has spoken, you're already equipped. If God has called you, He will sustain you. Move forward in faith, and let fear be silenced under the weight of divine obedience. Discipline and sacrifice separate the faithful from the forgettable. The difference between those who leave an impact and those who don't isn't just talent. It's discipline. It's not the moment of inspiration that builds legacy. It's the daily choice to stay committed when inspiration is gone. Sacrifice is the price you pay for doing something that matters. It's giving up what is easy so you can live for what is eternal. It's saying no to distraction so you can say yes to destiny. Discipline trains your spirit. It strengthens your will. It says, I will serve, I will pray, I will give, I will show up, not because it feels good, but because God is worth it. The faithful rise early when others sleep. They press in when others quit. They carry the cross of consistency while others chase convenience. Sacrifice and discipline are not chains. They are keys. Keys that unlock the doors others only dream about. When you live with discipline, your life becomes proof that daily obedience builds eternal impact. God honors those who keep showing up, who give when it hurts, who walk in private integrity even when no one is watching. This is how legacies are built, not by flashes of greatness, but by faithful footsteps, one obedient step at a time.